Yes, at long last, it's time for the glorious art of substrings. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Greetings, salutations, I'm Jordan, the IT guy. Welcome from the southern tropics of Michigan, and today we're going to talk about substrings. It's nothing fancy, it's nothing complicated, and yet, sometimes it's really just the only way to get the job done, especially if you happen to have any of those legacy systems, if you know what I mean, with old versions of PowerShell. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into it. Alright, as you can see, I have a wonderful string here. Again, I love ramen. It's in fact true. I do in fact love ramen. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and get into the right directory here first. Do that. Yep. Cool. Restart that. Alright, as you can see, we have a wonderful string here. It's in fact a very true string. I do in fact love ramen. However, as we talked about before, we were able to find out the length of this string. Okay? And that is where we can do something like this. Now, substrings is where we use our ability to snip strings apart, essentially, into smaller pieces, or we want to preserve one piece for the other piece, things like that. Now, how do we figure out the exact meaning of what a substring is? So if we go ahead and hit CLS, and if we go ahead and do, again, string, and we do period, and then control space again, we can see all those wonderful different methods. We're going to go on down here, and we're going to take a look at this substring stuff. Now, it's difficult to see. You can't really see the definition down below because there's so many different methods that are here in this prompt. I'm going to drag this window up here a little bit just to see if we can get kind of some... There we go. So we can actually see now down here that we can see that a substring is when you provide two pieces into the constructor. We can provide an integer that indicates the starting index, okay, which just says, hey, start here and return everything to the right of that in the string, okay? And then we can also pick instead to take the start index, so start here and then go X number of characters, where X equals the length or the number of character positions to move to the right, and return only that section of the string. Okay, that section of the string. All right, so why is this important? Well, one first thing to think about here is the index, okay, this start index. Remember we mentioned a few videos ago that a string, at the end of the day, is really an array. And whenever you are working from positions, you are always providing an index location of the string you would like to move to. So for those of you who didn't take any computer science classes at all, an array always has an index that indicates locations. And that index always starts at 0 and then goes out to the entirety of the length. So, for example, our wonderful string here called I love ramen, we just go ahead and do string here, right, has a initial integer of 0, okay, and it has an ending index of 12, okay, that's the last position, okay, and if we were to do 11, right, it's the actual last position because it's -1 because 0, right? There are 12 positions. So that means that the last character will be 11. Go ahead and clear that out there. Now, what this means is we could easily do something like, let's say that if all we wanted, we didn't care about the fact that I loved it, all we wanted to know was the ramen. Well, what we could do is if we had string, we could sit here and we could count painstakingly 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish, right? And what we could do is we could say string dot substring, and then we could say, you know what? I want to take the all characters to the right of 7. We'll hit enter, which in fact gives us ramen. However, there's some other finicky things that we can do here. So PowerShell lets us do some wonderful things called math. Right? Now, if we know that ramen is a 5-letter word, we've got 5 letters in ramen. Ramen is delicious after all, right? And so we would do something like, we could take the total length of the string and say, you know what? Go back 5 characters from the length of the string, okay? And give me everything to the right. So if we wanted to do something like that, what we can actually do, and just to prove this out before we get weird, is we can take string.length, and if we say -5, oops, 5, right? What we would get here, if we hit enter, is we should get 7. And we do, because it's 12 minus 5, which is 7, which if we look up here, we'll see based on this, is the number that we were able to use to substring out the word ramen. So how can we merge that into the substring thing dynamically so we don't have to sit here and painfully count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That seems painful, right? So what can we do? Well, what we could do is we could say string.substring, and we could take $string.length, length minus 5. And if we hit enter on that, what would we get? Well, we'll get ramen. Because this does the inside, if you remember from math, good old algebra, right? It says do this stuff first, do this calculation inside of here first, and then use the resulting number to calculate the substring. It's pretty cool stuff, and there's a whole bunch of different things that we can do about this. We can do all kinds of things, from trying to calculate file extension endings of names to all kinds of different stuff. We'll be talking more and more about this as we go forward in the future, and I hope that you have some ideas on what you might want to do with a substring later on. If you do have any ideas or anything specific you'd like to see, again, leave it in the comments down below, and I will try and come up with different ideas, feedbacks, and other things like that along the way. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.